Welcome back, and still on power. Over 40% of households in Nigeria own and use generators to meet their electricity requirements. Figures contained in a power sector report jointly put together by a research firm and a financial institution showed. It also stated that the affected households spent about $14 billion annually to fuel their generators as the power supply from the national grid continued to falter. The June 2022 report by Shares and Sterling, titled Nigeria State of Power, Electrifying the Nation's Economy, stated that the cost expended on diesel and petrol for electricity generation by Nigerians was having severe economic impact on households and businesses. The report said, in part, over 40% of Nigerian households own generators and bear the associated costs. First, the cost of purchasing generators, an estimated $500 million between 2015 and 2019, higher than the proposed capital expenditure in Nigeria's 2022 budget. For further analysis, Mukhtar Mohammed, the CEO of Finance with Mukhtar, joins us virtually. Hello, Mukhtar. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Perpetual. My pleasure.
We're looking at this particular report. It says over 40% of households in Nigeria own and use generators to meet the electricity requirements. That's one. But looking at some of the figures, it said that the affected households spent about $14 billion annually to fuel their generators because the power supply from the national grid continued, to falter. Do you agree with this figure?
Thank God I agree with it. I mean, it could be it could be more than that, what they're saying, even if you go now, that a lot of people are being Mr.
Mukhtar, can you hear me? All right, I guess that there's a challenge hearing him. But of course, for him, he feels that it might just be much more than that. But $4 billion annually. Wow, that's a lot of money being spent by Nigerians, or let's say households in Nigeria. If you can hear me, please go ahead, Mukhtar.
Okay, like I was saying, I said that is just for those that are using generators. We have also those that are using solar. So if you put that into, we might be seeing about 60% of Nigerian households, more than 60% of Nigerian households power for themselves.
All right.
Surprised by reports.
Okay, I guess we're having connection issue right there. Well, we'll take a break now. When we return, we'll continue the conversation. But this is what we're looking at. Over 40% of Nigerian households own generators on the one part. And on the other part, they have spent $4 billion annually fueling these generators. We'll take a break now. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. We still have Mukhtar Mohammed with us. Mukhtar, yes, you were talking about the percentage, saying that, well, it might just even be up to 60%. Please take it up from there.
We might be up to 60% because you have people that are using solar panel now. We could tell about 20% of Nigeria beginning to look at using their solar panel to generate their own electricity. So no economy can grow with this, and that is why we are having the challenges that we're having, coupled with the global economic situation that we are experiencing all over the world. These have resulted in the cost of goods and services going high, and because some of these alternative sources, like you're talking about filling up or using generators, some of these generations are being powered by gas, and the price of gas have moved from about 250 naira per liter to about 800 naira per liter. So that also is affecting. The only one you see that there is a little bit of subsidy is the petroleum product, and that is only used for household. Most of the industry use gas. So it's a big challenge, and unfortunately, I don't think we have a solution to it anytime soon. Based that to today, they say 70% of our power plant are not working. So you just will not be surprised by where we are today.
All right, then looking at what was spent powering these generating sets between 2015 and 2019, $500 million. That's a whole lot, $500 million between 2015 and 2019. And that's even higher than the proposed capital expenditure in Nigeria's 2022 budget. What taste does that leave in your mouth?
It's a beta test saying that if we have power, then our economy will be fixed. Because you could imagine that 500 billion being paid
500
back into this
million
economy.
dollars, million
Give me
dollars.
$500 million being put back into this economy. You know what it will be to the economy? It's in the area of job creation or in the area of wealth creation. That 500 million would be a lot. So it shows that our major challenge as a country still remains our inability to provide power for both domestic and for business ones. So it's like I said, it's a very big challenge at the side of government. And unfortunately, for the past 19 years in all civil administration, we've not been able to get make headway in this area of power. So and then you realize that most of these Nigerians that are even spending, some of them are even the very poor. They have to power their generator because some of them are those are hairdressers that need to use their salon, barbers that also need the vulcanizer by the wayside that has to do that. So it's a whole lot. So what we're saying is that the informal sector, with little of the resources that they have, are still using it to power their generator. So that's why you can attribute that to the level of poverty we are seeing in the land. Because what it means is that your cost is going high, but your earning is still low.
All right, let's go back to that figure, talking about the fact that Nigerians spend $14 billion annually. You know, looking at that particular money and all that's being spent, should we actually be here as a country? Is it that we do not have what it takes to fix power? Should we even be talking about power generation issues? If you can hear me, Mukhtar, please go ahead if you can hear me. All right, I guess that's connection issue. Well, basically, we're looking at this particular report, looking at all that is being spent, what Nigerian households are spending on ensuring that they have power. And yes, Mukhtar was talking about the ripple effect of this, how that you keep spending a whole lot more, but not even enough is coming. And at the end of the day, even that which is coming is being eroded by the amount you have to spend on upkeep, the amount you have to spend on the overhead cost, the amount you have to spend on the recurrent expenditure. Now, these are the things that at the end of the day, they thin out what's supposed to be used for other things. You know, probably at the end of the day, we find out that many people, you know, don't even have enough to eat because they've had to spend these monies on other things. Mukhtar, if you can hear me, please go ahead.
So what I'm saying is, in essence, that it's a big challenge, and I don't think the government has the capability to fix that issue as it stands now. So we may continue to couple with that effort. You can imagine that amount of money being spent by every Nigerian. Virtually every Nigerian provide power for themselves.
All right, now looking at this particular report that we just talked about, what's the socioeconomic impact of these on the households? I know you've talked about maybe how it affects businesses and all of that, but let's look at households. What's the socioeconomic impact of spending these amounts on trying to get power for themselves? $500 million for buying these generating sets and $14 billion for fueling these generating sets. What's the socioeconomic impact?
The socioeconomic impact is very huge, and like I said, it's bringing a lot of Nigeria into the poverty bracket. Because what we are saying is that if you look at even the wage structure in Nigeria, a lot of people are spending more and yet their income is not improving. So you realize that when you are spending so much to provide power for yourself and your income is not, so then you are going down the trail. So your poverty level is going. We're not surprised why they say Nigeria, over 80% of Nigerians are extremely poor. This could be as a result of they have to provide for themselves. And
okay, I guess we're having connection challenge right there. Well, he was talking about the socioeconomic impact of this on the Nigerian households. If you can hear me, please go ahead. All right, well, we're looking at this report talking about the fact that 43% of the population have no access to grid electricity. And just earlier today, we're talking about how that the power generation had dipped by 70%. This is a whole lot, really. Putting all this into consideration, it means that there is really so much to be desired. If you can hear me, Mukhtar, please go ahead.
Yes, I said when you look at the social economic impact of it, you also shouldn't forget about the health implication of it, because we are read and we have seen that a lot of Nigerians have died as a result of generator fume that is coming in from their generating set into their houses. So we are not just looking at the economic impact, we are also seeing the health impact, and that also play out in terms of climate. You see that climate change itself in Nigeria is becoming an issue. So it's not just the economic impact, even the health impact also is very huge. So it's something that we need to address as soon as possible.
Well, let's look at this now. While petrol prices appeared, more stable. I remember while you were talking, you talked about how that diesel used to be 250 naira, but now, well, it's well beyond the reach of a lot of persons. And then we said that petrol prices appeared more stable, and that's because of what is it called now? Subsidy. Exactly. Now, prices were kept artificially low by government subsidies, and they were generally acknowledged to be unsustainable, even in the near to medium term. Now, diesel, on the other hand, was widely sold at prices 200 to 300% up from the end of last year, which you also alluded to. This has actually made it incredibly difficult for households or even businesses to plan and manage themselves. This for me brings us back to the subsidy debate. Where do we go from here?
Perpetua, I've said it on your program, I've said it on other platforms. Subsidy has to go, because as it stands, it's not even helping the ordinary Nigeria. You look at Lagos State, the means of transportation in Lagos State that a lot of citizens of Lagos State goes through is through BRT. And by the 15th of July, BRT is going to increase its fare by 100 naira because they are using diesel. So what is the essence of us having subsidy whereby the ordinary people are still being suffered? Now, as I'm talking to you, the cost of transportation has even gone up without the removal of subsidy, even if government says it's still paying subsidy. So at the end of the day, it's the rich that really enjoy, because the rich that have their cars are still buying those fuel at 165 naira, comparable to the poor that are paying high in terms of petroleum, in terms of transportation to get to their place of work. So it's still favorable. That's why we are saying get subsidy off our economy. Come up with a buffer that is going to satisfy everybody, both the rich and the poor.
All right, very quickly, let's take a look at this particular one. Now, 43% of the population have no access to grid electricity. What could be the reason for this?
Sometimes, again, it has to do with vandals, and the insecurity, again, that is happening in Nigeria is not helping matters. So most of all these places are being controlled by bandits and others. So it's very difficult. But again, one of the major challenge that made some homes not to have electricity is because of vandalization of electrical cable, especially in the
rural
rural
areas. Places actually never had. They never had. It wasn't like they were put off because.
That's what I'm saying. But when you are trying to move power to one other place, you have to start from one other place to move it to the other places, and that has been the challenge: the infrastructural movement, and then the security challenges that are beginning to bevuil the nation at the moment. That also is adding to why we are not seeing this press.
All right, so what can be that final solution? What's that magic wand that would solve the electricity problem in Nigeria?
Number one, we have to have a strategy, a common goal to address the problem. We need to look at the privatization of these GINCOs or GINCOs, or what they call them. We need to look at the privatization. We need to look at our generation. There's no reason why government should still be in generation. We need to bring in the private sector to begin to generate that for us. So if we are able to do that, we'll be able to fix it. Though it may not be in the near term, but in the nearest future, I think if we have the right strategy in place, especially in the area of opening up to the private sector, we'll get it right.
All right, thank you so much for your thoughts on the show, Mukhtar Mohammed. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with us.